You've been too afraid to say it out loud because you know people are going to judge you. You're not wrong. This is real, and I'm going to give you the proof that you need. I'm Dr. Ben Lynch, and today we're going into the biology of EMF sensitivity, what it actually does to your cells, who is most vulnerable, and what you can do about it. But before that, let's clear some basics. EMF stands for electromagnetic fields. These are actually invisible forms of energy produced by electricity. Your phone, the Wi-Fi router, Bluetooth devices, your laptops, even household wiring all create EMFs. Electromagnetic fields are not new. The Earth itself produces natural EMFs. Even your own body produces its own electrical signals every second of every day. But EMF sensitivity occurs when someone experiences symptoms they only notice around modern electrical devices. Things like fatigue, headaches, anxiety, brain fog, all of these seem to improve when exposure is reduced. Now, I know many of you are wondering, is EMF sensitivity even real? Electromagnetic hypersensitivity sits in a pretty weird place in modern medicine. Historically, EMFs were studied mainly for their heating effects. So the main assumption was simple. If exposure to EMF does not heat the tissue, it shouldn't affect the body. Makes sense? But biology isn't only about heat. Even at the cellular level, your body runs on tiny electrical charges, controlling how cells communicate, fire, and maintain balance. That's literally why you drink electrolytes. Once researchers began studying non-thermal interactions in cells, the conversation changed. Scientists started noticing subtle yet real biological effects, particularly involving oxidative stress and nervous system signaling. And I'm going to be explaining more about these in chapters 2 and 3. EMFs have always existed, but our exposure has changed dramatically in intensity and in duration. Wireless technology is advancing faster and faster than long-term biological research can keep up with. And we are immersed in it all day, all night, every day. So to get to the root of dealing with it, we first need to understand, how do these EMFs interact with your body? Let me clear up a common misconception. Your body does not run on chemicals alone. It's not just hormones, vitamins, and neurotransmitters. That's because before a chemical reaction even takes place, electrical impulses must occur, and your nervous system communicates using these electrical impulses. You see, your cells are electric. They have tiny voltage-sensitive gates that open and close as sodium and potassium flow in and out. And that movement creates the electrical signal your nervous system runs on. That signal is how your brain talks to your body. It is fundamental. Mess with it, and you feel it. Now imagine adding external electromagnetic signals into that system. It would be an oversimplification to assume that external EMFs overpower the body. They don't. But the human body already runs on electrical signals to function. So the growing flood of artificial EMF exposure from phones, Wi-Fi, and wireless devices becomes another input your body must constantly adapt to. And like any environmental stressor, such as alcohol, mold, chemicals, how much that affects you depends on the dose, the duration, and, well, you. Which leads to the next question I hear most often. If EMFs are everywhere, why don't we feel them? Well, think about mold and think about car exhaust. You're in the same building, breathing the same air. One person gets headaches, brain fog, and fatigue. The person next to them, they don't feel anything. The same traffic, same fumes. One person feels nauseated, can't think straight. The other drives on, feeling fine. Same environment, completely different response. EMF sensitivity works the same way. Two people, same home, same devices, same amount of time. One feels nothing, the other has brain fog, headaches, and can't sleep. So what's the difference? It comes down to how well your body handles cellular stress. Every cell produces free radicals as a normal byproduct. Your body has antioxidant systems designed to neutralize them. That's normal and healthy. The problem starts when free radical production outpaces your ability to clear them. That is oxidative stress. And this is where your genetics come in. Genes like SOD2, GPX, and CAT affect how well your body produces and reuses antioxidants. If these pathways function efficiently, your body adapts more easily to environmental stressors such as EMF. But if they don't, the stress builds up faster than your body can clear it. And that stress directly affects your nervous system, your immune system, as well as your energy. Now let's connect another very important process. You've probably heard me talk about glutathione before. Glutathione is your body's master antioxidant and detoxifier. Glutathione also protects your mitochondria, calms inflammation, regulates neurotransmitters, and helps the body recover from stress. However, if your glutathione levels are low, your nervous system becomes more reactive, leading to a rise in inflammation and slowed recovery. And when you combine reduced antioxidant capacity, lower glutathione production, and increased nervous system sensitivity, something inevitable happens. You become more reactive to environmental inputs, not just noise, chemicals, or fragrances, but also EMFs. So, what are the symptoms of EMF sensitivity? Most people expect one obvious symptom, one clear sign. That is not how it works. EMF sensitivity shows up as a cluster. Trouble sleeping, feeling wired but exhausted, headaches, heart palpitation, anxiety that feels physical, not emotional, fatigue that gets worse during or after screen time. And it's inconsistent, which is exactly what makes people doubt themselves. Some days you feel fine when you're exposed to EMF. Other days, you're overwhelmed. And here's why that happens. Your body has a total stress load. EMF is just one input, but so is poor sleep, alcohol, mold exposure, a hard week at work. When those other stressors are low, you slept well, you're on vacation, you're eating clean, your body has more capacity to adapt. You barely notice the EMF in those situations. But when your load is already high, those same exposures push you over the edge. So you feel worse on some days and you cannot figure out why. You feel dramatically better outdoors or away from devices, but you don't connect it to that because nobody told you to look there. That's the part that makes this so easy to miss. People never consider EMF as a factor, so they never even ask the question. But once you understand the biology, the pattern becomes clear. All of these symptoms point back to one main thing: the nervous system being stuck in an overstimulated state. And that's why EMF sensitivity overlaps with conditions you might already recognize: anxiety disorders, migraines, chronic stress. These people already have nervous systems operating close to their limit. Add another stressor, such as EMF, and symptoms amplify fast. So the real question isn't whether your symptoms are real, it's what's actually causing them at the cellular level. And with that in mind, let's look at what EMFs actually do inside your body. But before we do get into these mechanisms, I want to address something directly. There is good, solid research on this. Published, peer-reviewed studies looking at exactly what EMFs do inside the human body. The problem isn't the lack of science. The problem is that nobody is reading it, and almost nobody is presenting it in a way that's actually useful. That's my job. I find it, I read it, I translate it for you accurately so you can take action based upon something real. Not EMF stickers, not EMF pendants, and not crystals. Science. And the research shows it isn't just one mechanism. There are 6 that I have found. The first one, calcium flooding. Your cells have tiny doors called voltage-gated calcium channels, controlled by a gene called CAC-NA1C. When they open, calcium flows in, triggering nerve signals, hormone release, and muscle contraction. Essential, normal. But EMFs appear to force these channels wide open when they shouldn't be. And here's where it gets personal. If you have MTHFR variants or elevated homocysteine, these calcium channels become even more sensitive, meaning calcium floods in even faster and harder than it should. Too much calcium inside a cell isn't just uncomfortable, it's destructive. This is the first domino. Second, brain overstimulation. That calcium flood immediately overstimulates what's called NMDA receptors. These are your brain's primary excitatory switches, and this is made worse by high homocysteine and low glutathione, both of which directly increase NMDA activity. So if those are already elevated, Your brain is primed for overstimulation before EMF exposure even enters the picture. When NMDA stays activated for too long, glutamate, which is your brain's main excitatory neurotransmitter, stays elevated. Your brain cannot calm down. That's the wired but tired feeling. Your brain is running hot while your body is running on empty. Now add in COMT and MAO-A. These genes control how quickly your body breaks down dopamine, adrenaline, and other stress neurotransmitters. Slower versions of those mean chemicals linger longer, keeping your nervous system stuck in overdrive. Third, nitric oxide goes wrong. When calcium floods in, it triggers a chain reaction that activates an enzyme called nitric oxide synthase. This is controlled by a gene called NOS3. Normally, NOS3 produces nitric oxide, great for blood flow, great for cellular signaling, but NOS3 can malfunction, and when it does, it stops producing nitric oxide and starts producing something called superoxide, which is highly reactive and it drives oxidative stress and it damages your cells. What triggers this malfunction? Oxidative stress, high homocysteine, low glutathione. Sound familiar? These are the same things that make calcium flooding worse. One problem feeds into the next. The fourth, oxidative stress spirals. Now, superoxide combines with whatever nitric oxide remains to form peroxynitrite, one of the most destructive molecules your body can produce. Peroxynitrite damages cells, irritates nerve tissues, triggers inflammation, and disrupts mitochondrial energy production. It also destroys biopterin, which is a critical cofactor your brain needs to produce dopamine and serotonin. No biopterin, no neurotransmitters. No wonder your mood, focus, and sleep fall apart. And here's where it becomes a vicious cycle. Peroxynitrite drives more oxidative stress causes more NOS3 malfunction, more NOS3 malfunction produces more superoxide, and through all of it, glutathione gets depleted, the very thing your body needs to break the cycle. It feeds itself, but we're still not done. The fifth, mast cells and histamine. When the brain is overstimulated, oxidative stress is triggering yet another problem. Mast cells are immune cells that release histamine and other inflammatory chemicals when they see a threat. Oxidative stress activates them. And once they release histamine, the effects are immediate: disrupted sleep, heart palpitations, anxiety, brain fog, mood swings. But it doesn't stop at how much histamine is released. It also depends on how strongly your body reacts to histamine. And histamine works by binding to histamine receptors. The H1 receptor in particular drives the most notable symptoms: nervous system activation, inflammation, and immune reactivity. And some people have more H1 receptors or more sensitive ones, meaning the same amount of histamine hits them significantly harder. I'm one of those people. My H1 receptor is overly sensitive, and I can tell you firsthand, EMF exposure affects me. I also get motion sickness easily. Car rides, boats, carnival rides. That's the histamine 1 receptor at work as well. Same receptor, different trigger. So if you've always been sensitive to motion, there is a good chance your H1 receptor is running hot. And that same sensitivity may be making you more reactive to EMF. Now, genes like DAO and HNT control how quickly your body clears histamine. If those pathways are slow, histamine builds up, H1 receptors stay activated longer, and your symptoms to EMF amplify. This is why so many people with EMF sensitivity also struggle with histamine intolerance. They are not separate problems. They fall into the same cascade. The sixth, mitochondria and energy crash. Now you add on mitochondrial stress. Your mitochondria are responsible for reducing your energy. They are also extremely sensitive to oxidative stress. When calcium is high, peroxynitrite is accumulating, and your glutathione levels are depleting, your mitochondria take a hit. Your energy production drops, your fatigue becomes overwhelming. Let that pattern land for a moment. Calcium floods in, the brain overstimulates. Nitric oxide goes wrong. Oxidative stress spirals. Histamine releases, and energy crashes. And none of the genes mentioned determine your fate, but each one can lower your resilience, making every step of this cascade hit harder and recover slower. Now, let's zoom out a bit and answer the most common question. So, who is most vulnerable? Some people are simply genetically wired to feel EMF more than others. More sensitive calcium channels, slower MTHFR enzyme leading to higher homocysteine, reduced glutathione production from slower GPX or GSR function, a more sensitive H1 receptor with slower DAO and HNMT function. A NOS3 gene is more prone to malfunction. Faster SOD or NOx activity generates more oxidative stress than the body can clear. None of these genes with genetic variants make you broken, but stack a few of them together and your resilience against environmental stressors like EMF gets significantly lower than someone without them. I know this firsthand. I have a slow MTHFR, meaning my homocysteine runs higher if I'm not on top of it. I also have slow histamine breakdown. I also have faster, more sensitive histamine receptors. This combination puts me higher on the vulnerability list. I'm still figuring out my calcium channel genes and some of the others. This is ongoing even for me. And that's exactly the point. You don't need to have every answer to start taking action. If you have raw data from 23andMe or Ancestry or Self-Decode, you can run it through Strategene. That's the genetic reporting platform that I built specifically to look at these pathways. It won't diagnose you, but it will show where your vulnerabilities may lie, so you can take targeted action instead of guessing. Link is in the description. This isn't a single lever problem. It never was. It's a systems problem, which means the solution has to be systems-based as well. 3 angles. All of them matter. Number 1, reduce unnecessary exposure. You can't fear technology. You don't need to live off-grid. You just need to reduce the most intense and unnecessary exposures. Turn off Wi-Fi at night. Keep your phone out of the bedroom. Switch from 5G to LTE mode on your cell phone. Use wired headphones instead of AirPods. Use an Ethernet adapter on your laptop instead of Wi-Fi. Don't put a laptop directly on your body. Use a speakerphone option instead of holding the phone next to your head. Distance and duration matter than most people realize, and small changes add up fast. 2, calm the nervous system. This one gets overlooked, and it may be the most important. Sleep, movement, breathing, time outdoors, these aren't soft suggestions. They are direct inputs into healthy nervous system regulation. A nervous system stuck in overdrive becomes more reactive to everything. Calm it down, and your threshold to EMF goes up. 3rd, support the biology. Every mechanism that we covered depends on specific nutrients and lifestyle inputs. This isn't about supplements that block EMFs. It's about giving your body the tools it already uses to handle stressors. And that's exactly what I want to get into next. What your biology actually needs. Every mechanism we covered has a nutritional component. This isn't about blocking EMFs. It's about making your biology more resilient to stress. And the sequence matters here. I'm presenting these in a specific order for a reason. Start where I start. Build the foundation first. Each step makes the next one more tolerable and more effective. If you rush ahead, skip something, then you're more likely to react and feel worse. Follow the order to give yourself the best chance of success. Electrolytes, especially potassium, magnesium, and taurine. EMF disrupts cellular communication. Electrolytes are how your cells communicate, so keeping them topped up isn't optional. It is absolutely foundational. Potassium and magnesium hydrate the intracellular compartment inside the cell where it matters most. And taurine supports healthy NMDA receptor activity, directly addressing one of the 6 mechanisms we just covered. Start here, everything builds on this. 2, magnesium. Magnesium plays a direct role in keeping calcium balanced inside the cell, addressing mechanism 1 directly. But not all forms of magnesium are equal, and for EMF sensitivity specifically, form selection matters. Magnesium threonate crosses the blood-brain barrier, one of the few forms that directly supports your brain and nervous system function, exactly where it's needed most. Magnesium taurate pairs magnesium with taurine, supporting healthy NMDA receptor activity, 2 benefits in one form. Magnesium malate supports mitochondrial energy production. If fatigue is your dominant symptom, this one deserves attention. Magnesium glycinate is widely used and well absorbed, but caution if you're highly sensitive. Glycine is a co-agonist at the NMDA receptor, meaning that too much glycine can increase NMDA activation. For most people, this is not an issue. But if brain overstimulation and wired but tired are your primary symptoms, it's worth knowing that magnesium glycinate could possibly make you feel worse. Start with magnesium threonate or taurate. Add in magnesium malate if energy is your primary concern. Take this additional magnesium away from your electrolytes. Before bed is best for most forms, including malate. It gives your nervous system something to work with overnight while you recover. Third, glutathione, your master antioxidant. This is a thing that breaks the vicious cycle. But here's where most people get this wrong. There is a sweet spot. Too little glutathione and NMDA receptors become overactivated. Too much can do the same thing. And damaged oxidized glutathione also triggers NMDA activation. So the goal isn't to take as much glutathione as possible. It's to keep levels in a healthy functional range with glutathione that's actually intact and working. Lower doses of glutathione taken more frequently outperform high doses taken once a day. You want a steady supply, not a flood. The form of glutathione matters as well. S-acetylglutathione is a preferred form for cellular absorption. And if you take glutathione alone, you may actually feel worse. Glutathione becomes oxidized after it does its job. To be useful again, glutathione has to be recycled, and that requires riboflavin. Without riboflavin, damaged glutathione accumulates and activates the very NMDA receptors you're trying to calm down. You also need selenium to activate glutathione properly. And molybdenum is needed to neutralize the sulfites that come from glutathione's sulfur backbone, something that highly sensitive people react to without ever knowing why. So if you tried glutathione before and you felt awful, these are some of the potential reasons why. The wrong dose or missing cofactors. This is exactly why I formulated a glutathione lozenge with all of these cofactors built in. Low dose, slow dissolve, riboflavin, selenium, and molybdenum included. So you get the benefit without the grief. 4, histamine report. Once electrolytes, magnesium, and glutathione are in place, your system is better prepared to handle histamine without reacting to it. You may not need this step. If the first 3 steps are working and you feel already better, stay there for now. But if you've done the work on electrolytes, magnesium, and glutathione, and you're still struggling, especially if you're experiencing motion sickness, heart palpitations, you can't fall asleep, or you're anxious, then addressing histamine directly is key. And this is where most people get it wrong. They focus on one enzyme, usually DAO, and they wonder why they still feel terrible. There's 4 enzymes in histamine metabolism that need your support: DAO, HNMT, MAO-A, and ALDH. They all work together to break down histamine and clear it out. If even one of these is lagging, histamine will build up and every other mechanism hits harder. Histamine nutrients was specifically formulated to support all these 4 pathways together. 5th, folate, B12, and TMG. Last, and only when you're ready. If you've worked through everything above and you're still not where you want to be, elevated homocysteine may be driving the cascade. Remember mechanisms 1 and 2. High homocysteine makes calcium channels more sensitive and increases NOS3 malfunction risk. It also directly activates NMDA receptors. So if homocysteine is elevated, the entire cascade becomes harder to control no matter what else you do. The fix is folate, B12, or TMG, depending on what your genetics and what your homocysteine levels show. But don't start there. This is step 5 for a reason. Too much folate too soon can trigger a histamine release in sensitive people. And if glutathione is still low and histamine is still high, adding folate and B12 early is a recipe for feeling worse, not better. Do the work above first, then get your homocysteine tested, or just go for it empirically. You want your homocysteine around 6 to 7 micromoles per liter. Once the electrolytes are in, magnesium is dialed in, your glutathione levels are stable, and your histamine is under control, then bring in the folate, B12, and TMG carefully. Homocysteine nutrients was formulated specifically for this. It contains the methylfolate, the methylcobalamin, the TMG, B6, and riboflavin. These are the core nutrients your body needs to bring homocysteine down into a healthy range. So now the question is, can EMF sensitivity be reversed? Yes, but it takes work, and it takes understanding what's actually driving it. When calcium signaling stabilizes, oxidative stress decreases, histamine clears more efficiently, and your mitochondria regain their energy capacity, your nervous system calms down. Tolerance improves. I know this firsthand. My EMF sensitivity was horrible. I've also dealt with severe motion sickness my whole life, and I've overcome both, but I put in the work. I know my genes, I support myself nutritionally, I sleep well most of the time, and I keep mold out of my environment. I limit high histamine foods and alcohol, and I manage my exposures. But it can come back because this is a total load problem, the same one we talked about at the beginning of this video. The more stressors you carry, mold, infections, dehydration, poor sleep, high histamine, the less capacity your body has to handle EMF. And the more EMF you're exposed to via Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and your cell phone, the more nutritional and lifestyle support you need to stay ahead of it. It's not a one-time fix, it's an ongoing practice. Since technology isn't going away, the goal is to grow your resilience to it, not fear it. Understand it, support your biology, and make smarter decisions every single day. Everything we covered today, the research, the supplements, the genetic pathways, it's all in the description below. The full article that I've linked also goes deeper on the science and includes every published reference so you can read the studies yourself. The supplements I mentioned are also linked directly. And if you want to understand your own genetic vulnerabilities, Strategy is linked there as well. Upload your 23andMe or Ancestry or self-decode data and see exactly where your weak points are. But before you do any of that, watch the next video on electrolytes. If there's one thing that will make everything else work better, it's understanding how hydration works at the cellular level. It is foundational, and most people are getting it wrong. It's way more complicated than sucking down salt.